Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Deanna, the Organized Miss, and I am finally here with the flip through of my one book July. No, that's not what I'm doing. My one book July this year was my junk journal July, so let's flip through that. Oh gracious, this is the third time that I'm filming this. First time, the lighting was not good, so it was kind of blurry-ish. It just wasn't good. And then the second time, my light is not working great. I think I need to replace something because it kept kind of strobing, and that was distracting. So here we are again. Take 3. But I have my junk journal July out, and it was one book that I separated into signatures, essentially. Well, I separated into 2 signatures, and then the third piece was for day 10 focus, and it has become an item all by itself. So let's just get into it, and I am sorry that I can already tell the lighting is not great. We're gonna do our best. I hope that you can see this and this looks well. So my journal started out as an Amazon package. I just, as you can see, covered it with some Tim Holtz tissue paper that I had, and I don't use nearly often enough, so I really challenged myself to try to use as much junk, and when I say junk, just, you know, items that normally would get thrown away. I don't see them as junk. And see how much I can incorporate in here. So this was not junk, but it was just sitting in a drawer, not being loved on. So I pulled it out. And this is an illustration from a book that had been sitting on a shelf that I liked. And then I this was a packaging from a box, and I liked the little window of it. So I cut out all of the little pieces that had circles, and I said, how am I going to use that? And then I had this July illustration from a flower book that I was using for this junk journal July. I've had that book on my shelf for 5 years, and I just you know, it's so hard to just tear that first page out, but once you do, it's, you know, it's a lot easier. So I just took a deep breath and pulled out all the pages that I thought I could use. And this was on one of the pages. They actually had an entry for every month, and it kind of talked about things to do in the garden and what plants and whatnot for that season month. So I knew that had to be incorporated somehow. So that's just layered on here with this image I took from the book, and then I kind of cut around. It was part of fussy cutting, so I cut out some images and layered over that, and I really liked the way it turned out. And then I had stained and stitched together my cover, and this on the inside was some Kleenex that I had that I liked, and then a book page that I folded into a pocket that I had just kind of, you know, splattered some paint on. I liked the little image. This actually was on the book page, and then I added the sticker. So I did not put a pocket back here. I don't normally put pockets in the back, but sometimes I do. I don't know, I feel like holding this up would help with the lighting issue. Oh gracious. It's gonna be a long flip through if I don't get to it. So I'll try to point out when I remember what day's prompt these were. I do have stickers on some. I haven't, I think, put all the stickers on all the days, so I'll have to work on that. But this was an image from the flower book that I used kind of as the base pages. And then it's just a little pocket, a book page pocket that I sewed on. I covered with some more of this Tim Holtz tissue. And then I just made a little tag using an image. I think this was kind of like a journal card size, and this is coffee. and I'm a coffee lover, and this is the illustration for coffee. So I just punched a hole, added a rivet, and used some string, and I tried to save my ties and things from clothing tags and reuse those. So that is where that came from. And so that's just there. That wasn't one of the prompts, but I just thought this page needed something. And this is geometric. I just found some images and things that I thought looked geometric to me. Added a little interactive element there with the journaling spot. And this was here near the end. This was quote. So I like to take my papers, as you can see here, this same image. I like to take pictures of my papers and things that I do, and then import them and add graphics and make my own things with them. So that's what I did there. This was a pocket, so in here, this was a pocket from one of those accordion fans, and I just had it for it was just sitting around. I was like, I need to try to use it, so I tore it apart, cut it up, see if it would make a good like pocket, and stitched around the edges, and it was fine. It didn't turn out to however I thought it was going to be, but it has a nice little texture, and I like the color. And in here is a tag made with some of those leftover elements that I used on the front page. So that was day 11 that I must have done that. And then I added them to this little cardstock thing and made a little tab for journaling. And then I also have some mailing packaging that I like, so I thought that would be a good journaling spot and tuck that in there. Now this, I do have a sticker, so this is day 8. This was wallpaper. And I used these are China illustrations for some Noritake China, and I do not know the pattern or the year, but they're in the public domain, so I thought I'll make some wallpaper using these images. So that's what I did here, and I printed it out so that it could also be cut like washi strips. So I just added that on there, little place for journaling. And I guess I should say, if you didn't watch my series, I have all of my junk journal prompts on a playlist, on my junk journal playlist. So I'll try to remember to link that below or up here somewhere. But this is how it's turning out. So this was, I love to incorporate this image when I can. This is a page that I took a picture of and then I reprinted, and it's got something my daughter wrote, and I have the original in a frame on my wall. I just love it so much. When she was a little girl, she wanted to write a book, so she hands me this piece of paper. I just love it. I think it's so sweet. So I just left it in there, and this page is relatively blank, but this is a piece of wax paper that I ironed tissue paper to, and then I ran it through my printer, and then I used that, I peeled the tissue paper towel, I think. I peeled that off and I used that as tissue paper in another collage project, but I just liked the way that looked. I didn't have the heart to throw it away. So it's been sitting in a project box this whole time. Pulled that out, put it in here, and turned it into a little pocket. And this is a little advertisement that was in that flower book. And then I just made a little journaling card with a little bead on it. Thought that was fun. This was not a prompt either, but it was fun and I wanted to include it in there. So, and this is the page that it was just attached to. And on this side, this was prompt 2. So this was reinvent. And this was a little kit that I had found some time ago at a thrift store, but it had the clothes or the lace in here to make this doll's outfit. I was never gonna do that. So I made a little snippet roll using the fabric, and I just stapled it on there, and now I still have snippet roll for other projects. This is an envelope that I just glued on there as a little flip out, and I added some more kind of journaling cards in there. And this tag was a clothing tag that I used some packaging and book pages to kind of make a cluster collage on, and I used some of that same packaging here. So again, not a prompt, but I had a lot of free time on my hands in July, so I would just kind of use things and make things when I thought of it. Speaking of that, thank you to everyone who kind of followed my journey and left messages of support and comments and thumbs up and likes and subscribe. It really just helped me get through July. So this was paint splatters. Oh, look, I have this over here. I could be reading it. Paint splatters. That was day 24. And I started with paint splattering this little flower. And I just have a little bit of paint splatters everywhere, but it's just a little tag with journaling spot. And here is, this was day 22. This was blended, so I was trying to learn how to watercolor and blend. I am not patient, is what I've learned from the art of watercoloring. I don't have that kind of skill set, but, and this was another envelope, or maybe it was a coin envelope from the bank that I kind of cut down and turned into a pocket here. So I put that there, and there. And then this is the center of this signature, and so after I bound it together, I glued that to be a little pocket. I'm going to put something in there. But I had stenciled on here. I just love the way that feels and looks. Did some watercoloring on both sides. Little slightly different technique, but same kind of thing. Really like that. That was, I think, part of stenciling. The stenciling prompt, I officially did a different page, but then while I had the stencil out and the texture paste and all the things, I played around with this. And this was just part of the original base signature, coffee dyed, that I had sewed lace on. I just love texture, so there's my junk journal. Has a lot of texture things. This was day 7 was bouquet, and I created my own digital and printed it out on sticker paper, and that I could use, but I put it on this page, and I used transparent, can you kind of see that? I used like a transparent sticker paper. It was so light. This was a darker, I printed off a second time, and I actually cut it out with my Cricut, and it just printed darker than when I just ran the whole thing through the printer. But I really like the way that looked. This was stripped back. I remember that because I stripped back my supplies for this day, and I'd say my whole junk journal kind of is a stripped back. Well, is that going to come out? This was just an envelope that had come in the mail at some point during probably July, and I cut this out of a magazine. And I liked that it said learn more inside, because then you can open it up, and I had another just piece of paper mail that had come with something, copy of an invoice, so I thought that would make a good journaling spot there. But there's plenty of room to write or add paint or stickers or whatever. It's real simple, you know. We really don't need a lot to junk journal. Obviously, all the paint and tape and stickers and textures kind of just fills it out with extra embellishments, but just can learn so much just from what you have lying around, literally. This one was day 3, and it was a layer tag. So this was some cardboard that I had. I just turned it into a tag. Added some more of that. I had one napkin, and I kept using it until it was used up. There was a little bit left in here, and some tissue paper, and layered it with this is a Tim Holtz from one of his ephemera packs. So that was not junk journal. I mean, that wasn't actual recycle. This was something I had bought new. And then I just stapled this little thing on there. But yeah, maybe you can see, I just cover up if there's words or an address or something. If I don't cut it off, I cover it up, and sometimes I do both. There's still plenty of room to do things in here. I have not finished this out clearly, but it's probably close to finished for me. This I made, I think this was One-Sided Day. Yes. And it was a piece of craft paper that I stamped, and I stenciled, and I painted, and I paint splattered, and all the things. And I used some of the paper on a different page, and then I still had plenty left over, so I just kind of turned this into a little envelope that you can either journal inside, or I could make it a happy mail. I just put that there. This is a pocket that I sewed from a book page. It wasn't a prompt again, but this was Memento, I think. Yes, this was Memento. So what day was that? There, Memento is day 26. So this came in the mail from a local politician running for office, and I cut it out. I like that the way it looked. And then this is another piece of a packaging, an envelope that I kind of cut out, and I make a good little journaling spot. And I can just tuck it right in there. You probably notice I like to tuck away places where I would have writing and words, just because I started junk journaling because I didn't like my handwriting, and it was something I've kind of worked on getting over, but at the time I didn't want to see my handwriting, so I wanted to make journals, and that process of itself was therapeutic without even writing words. But then if I did want to write words, I wanted to tuck them away. So that is why I do that. This was day 20, and day 20 was prompted by this black and white photo. The prompt was black and white, and I had this photo, and so I kind of tucked in there another piece of thing that came from the mail. But I made 3 tuck spot pocket, inspired by Joey of Joey DeFee. And so it had 1, 2, and then a third placed a pocket, but then I attached it as such with journaling spot on the back. And I kind of made these in a style that reminded me of old scrapbook, and so that's why I made them like that. Kind of good memories of growing up, climbing trees at my grandmother's and flipping through her scrapbook photo album from when she was young, and it was, all that black kind of construction paper. So, and this whole kind of theme, my base for my junk journal, was inspired by a friend of mine who has cancer right now, and he's a florist, and so he's just heavy on my heart, and so I just have a lot of florals and flowers, and that was really kind of the inspiration behind kind of the base of putting this together. And so I've left a lot of things like this undecorated. Probably might still go back in and do something on here like I did on this front page. but I have not yet. So when I started my junk journal, it was all one. It was all one. But as I got going, it started filling out. So I had to separate my papers into a second signature because it was really filling out. So this was the second signature. And when I bound this one, instead of sealing the center signature, I just tied some little buttons on there. It was kind of cute. And this so since at the time I didn't have another packaging that matched that one, so I pulled out an old file folder that I had coffee dyed. Again, it was just sitting around waiting to be used. And I covered it with some paper from a flower book, a different one, but I thought that was really pretty. And so I made that the cover of the second signature. And then I just started adding a few more base pages. This was a paper bag, so I sturdied it by gluing this image on the back side of it and layered kind of like a spine there. So day 17 was go-to palette. So this color scheme, I would say, is very much my go-to palette. Coffees and creams and some greens and pinks and reds and gold. And I have it textured and stamped and splattered. So, and then this is a napkin that is decoupage. I really like using napkins and tissue paper. And this one, day 16, was, I don't know. Oh, this was the one-sided. So that paper I used and I made these little buttons, closures here. But the whole thing was a little folio fold-out journaling spot. And I had glued this book page to some player piano music paper I have a lot of, and I just didn't know how I was going to use it, so I'm glad I did that this way. It turned out pretty good. And I stitched around the ends of it, and so I used that one-sided to make these, and I like the way that turned out. And then I thought, oh, I'll just add it to another, like one side, and do a one-sided like spread, I guess. I didn't do this side, so that's why I was interpreting it as. And then this side, this was tucked away, so day 19, and it was inspired by Joey DeFee's envelope flippy flappy. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's where you have all the envelopes like that and they're tucked away. I really like that so much. It just really spoke to my fidgeting inner self. And so then each of these are little pockets, and I've got things kind of tucked away in there for a little journaling card spot. And this was some of that image that I made for bouquet. I printed it out onto some coffee dyed paper. Used it for that. And this was one of the images from the flower book. And this is part of a free printable that it is, the link to it is on, this was cut out. So day 18. So I made some images from public domain images and kind of edited them to be, you know, journal cards or labels and things. So that's what this is for. And then I made a tab using an extra piece of paper. And then the wrapper, this is a wrapper from my cough drops. And all of a sudden I looked at them and I was like, those are little flowers on there. I can use those in my junk journal. That is pretty much how it goes. I see something, I'm like, I can use that. So I smoothed out my little cough drop packages, and then I trimmed them off, just saving the little flower piece, and then I am using those like little washi elements or, you know, tabs. So wanted to keep my mementos from my month of you know what again. Here's some more of those flowers. And that, you know, I could put something else there if I wanted, but I just like the way that looked. And then I have another of those little journaling cards from the cutout in there. And this one has, this was one of those larger journaling cards, and I folded it in half and made it to a little booklet. So I have some of this like cotton paper, and it's fun to kind of include in projects. It was actually what was inside that leather binder, folder, book cover that I was using to store these in till I bound them, and I repurposed the whole book, and so I reused the papers. Let's see. Yeah. So this, before I separated all of my pages into two signatures, this was opposite, or the page on the other side of the wallpaper, and so I'd cut out an image and kind of layered it there just because I liked it. I thought it was cute there. And then this burlap, part of the prompt for day 15 was texture, and so I have a lot of different textures in here, but I added this burlap, and then I made little antennae for the butterfly, and just, you know, layered up some different textures. But then laid here with this, I like the way that looked. That's the way it feels. So that was day 15. Again, some more lace that I'd sewed on to begin. This is a floating pocket, and I made this using packaging from a sticker pack, probably alphabet letters. And then I sewed some burlap on here and a piece of, so I got this shirt or sweater or cardigan or something from a you know, charity shop, and it was not wearable, but it had tons of this, it was kind of all this all over. So I just cut it out and used it, and I liked it. So I made a little pocket, and then what's in the pocket are these 3 tags, which, as you can tell, look nothing like the rest of my palette in here, but I included them because since I was sick with you know what, I was going through a lot of Kleenex, and this was a Kleenex box, and I thought once it was empty, how was I going to use it? So I made these little journaling cards or tags, and I put some of the stickers on that I made from the floral prompt. This was one I had just been holding on to. This was a clothing tag that I added some coffee dyed paper to the back of, and I just go through my stash and found different, you know, embellishments. This was some ribbon. This was from the doll kit that I still had left over to use, and some more of that burlap. And so I just tucked those in there. I thought that was pretty fun. Just leave it as a floating pocket. And but I put it on here because it's kind of heavy. And then I used another piece and just made a little tab and layered some little bit of lace over that. And backside that tab. And then this was kind of like a tuck spot that I could use, and just more layers of textures. I was really kind of working on the texture theme also with that page, I think. Yes, that's why it says 15 there on the texture. And then this was transparency, so day 4. So I used elements that gave a hint of transparency, and this is vellum, kind of printed vellum, with this image underneath. That was just fun to make. And then here I just sewed some parchment paper, and then I was just kind of playing around, having fun with it didn't work out what I thought I was doing, but it still turned out pretty cute. So that goes in here, and then between the book page and this page I had another pocket. Leave that one in its pocket, and it was just some of the cut-offs from the pages, the flower pages. I just thought it looked cute there. So another little tuck spot in here. Place to, or not tuck, well, I call them hidey holes. A little place to hide my my writing or journaling or whatever I want in there. I left this one open. This is the center of the signature, so again, just tied the ends off with buttons. And this was fold out, I think, day 5. Yes, just from a magazine, and this was leftover tissue paper that I had been painting on, and it was like underneath things, and I was daubing up with it and the paper here, so I just layered it all up onto, this was a discarded book, you know, what are these things called? Library card holder for a back of a book that I got from the library sale, and I just I did that with it. Oh, day 6. So I finished the flip through and realized the camera died at about here. Symmetry. Oh, gracious. Nature was day 14, and I did not love the way it turned out. I kept fiddling with it, trying to make it better, and you know, there are some things that I like about it. I love that it said a single rose flower in perfect balance, but clearly I cut it off. But I really liked it. And I made this little, like a pressed flower kind of specimen card with one of the stickers I had made. And then a little journaling spot right here. You have some more right here, but it could be hidden. So it's growing on me. This page, I just left it kind of open. I just brought some elements, you know, through here. Another one of those journaling cards from Cutout. And then I added some tissue paper to back this, just to kind of give it a little more, be sturdy. This day 13 was mirrored. Oh yeah, mirrored. So I added what I thought were kind of like mirrored surfaces. This doily, I had some kind of foil reflective kind of elements in the washi and on this tea bag. And then I made this little tuck in here using a piece of cut off from something else, and a tab from my tea cup, the glass of tea that I was drinking, probably at that right then. And this little quote, I have another book I got from the discard shelf at the library, and I was cutting out the letters every so often like this. I thought those were kind of neat. And then I really liked the whole quote, or the whole kind of what was written there, so I saved it. I thought it would be perfect for this because I was drinking a lot of tea while I was homesick, eating cough drops, and so I just want to keep that little memento in there. I think this day was peaceful. I think it was. What day was peaceful? 25. Need to put my sticker on there. But I added some of this, the stencil, the day that I did stenciling was 28. Must have done 20. I must have done the stenciling for that page knowing that I was going to use it. Anyway, I think this was peaceful. And so I was just, you know, relaxing, making some things. And this was stenciling day. So I tried a couple of different techniques of stenciling with the ink. Wow. And then texture paste, and I painted and all the things. And I made a little tuck spot here. More stenciling. And this is just an envelope. You can tell I get a lot of junk mail envelopes, so I like to use those whenever I can. And then this is the back here, and this was my tea package that I was drinking, and I just looked at it, and all of a sudden I thought, oh, that would be really cute in my junk journal. So I just layered it up with some vellum, some of that craft paper that I had made, and the box, and it just kind of flips out. So another place for journaling, another library card, and then I made a tag from my box, kind of keep as a memento. And then I made another tab using the wrappers from the cough drops. These were just leftover pieces from the cover. And then I added these stickers here. I did not do a journal entry on the 9th or the 10th because that was kind of the height of really not feeling good. This was clashing patterns, and this one was timeout. So I literally was like, it's okay if I take a timeout. And then 12 went with, I did 11 and 12 together, which was fussy cutting and dyed. And so for my cover, then I had fussy cut this out, and I copy dyed this. It doesn't really look very dark, but it's all right. I tried it. And if you watched my series, you know that this one signature that turned into 2 was not all. I had one more prompt from day 10. And day 10, nope, it wasn't day 10. Day 12, nope. Wow. Let's try this again. My one more prompt was from day 21, which was focus. And I was going to, I thought that meant pick a focal point. At least that's how I was interpreting it. So again, I had these junk mail envelopes that I was piling up, and I was like, oh, I'm going to use this window to be my focal point. And before I know it, I was just so focused in what I was doing. I created this whole this could be a whole nother little junk journal. I really liked what I had done for Tucked Away, was day 19. These little Joey's flippy flappy envelope thing. So that was so fun to me. It's still so fun to me. I thought, I want to do some more of that. So I just gathered up the rest of the envelopes that were sitting right over here. And I started painting and stamping and covering and paper and sewing. And before I knew it, I had this. So my actual focal point is this. I put this quote right here on this. This is like a journaling card tag. You open it up, and there's place to journal, and also on the back I added this sticker there for day 21 so I'd remember. And then I had made all these little tabs using the leftover scraps and strings from the project here that I cut off. So I made these little a snippet roll that I cut into tabs for the top of my tags and journaling spots. So let's just get into day 21. I added a hole with my crocodile and put a little rivet in there, and then I tore up this blouse that I had gotten from my friend's charity shop down the street. She was not going out of business, but sold her building and was moving up the street the other way into kind of a smaller location, but more centrally located. And great story. Whenever I go in and I say, how much is this? And she'll she'll say, what do you want to give me for it? And I would like $1. And her face is like, oh, it's worth way more than that. And she starts to tell me all the features and look at this. And I'm like, I'm just going to tear this up or rip it up and put it in a junk journal. And her face drops every time. And I remind her, I'm rescuing this. It's just sitting in your store, collecting dust, holding shelf space. You want to get rid of it, and I want to give it new life. So she still manages to get more than $1. But this was one of those items that just really sweet little, it was a blouse. No way was it going to fit me. So I decided to kind of cut it into strips and use it for things like this or edging or something. So let's see if we can't finish filming this before I get another phone call. I do have the video on how I did this up on my channel. It's called Focus. And it's kind of a standalone piece. It doesn't really, obviously it's a little bigger than these two, but that's how it turned out. I've honestly flipped through this a couple times. I have no idea until I go back and edit it what you saw. But it was just so much fun. I stitched together pockets with scraps and altered the papers that were a little too bright. And I painted and texture painted, pasted and stamped and Mod Podged, and it was just such a therapeutic day. So much fun. And it's a little journaling card here with another journaling card and a little tag spot in here. So many little fun little tuck spots and hidey holes for things that there's actually still plenty of room to tuck in even more. I think this came off of a Discover card envelope. I just layered up some more bits to kind of help it blend in. And this turned out so cool. I actually have no idea where the little dots came from. No idea. I know, I think now this was a stencil, and this might have been the reverse. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't really know how this got here, but it is so cool. I just think it looks so good, and no clue how that image showed up there, but the texture here, this was the stencil, the little hexagon honeycomb stuff. Little pocket. It's more of that cotton paper that I just put in there, and the rest of the paper there that I made the tag with, this was the other half. Little spot. And so this pocket is, I put this here to be another hidden spot, because this is actually the inside of this envelope. But when you put your little notes in, then you would see them. So I just put another little piece that you can either journal on or not, and it just kind of goes in there and helps camouflage that. Put that down a little better. And then this little tag, some leftover cardstock from my second signature that I made, and then I just stitched around it some of this fabric here. It's kind of like nylon. It may be polyester, but it feels a little bit like pantyhose. Anyway, that's so fun. And this, let's see, this, you know what, that looks like it needs it, there we go. But there's more. Yeah, just really, this was just so much fun, pulling together my clothing tags and some printables that were sitting in my little journal card, a little zipper bag with journal cards that I can pull out, and some of these I just hadn't found a place to use them yet, and so I was really glad to do that. And then another clothing tag. Sometimes, you know, they just have some cool stuff. And this, I made a little fold out journaling spot. So let's see. Some coffee dyed paper on there. But it could also just be a pocket, you know. You keep that closed like this. And it could just be a little pocket if you want. And a little journaling spot, but I sure thought that was sweet. And in here are some more of these pockets. And yellow paper house. This came from a little notebook that my daughter got me when she was learning to be supportive of my junk journal creating craft hobby. At first she was kind of like, I don't get it, Mom. But, you know, my planning and journaling, and now she's on board and she brings me home things. I thought you could use this for your journal. I love it. And then just this little tag, I thought that'd be fun. And another journaling spot. So this little prompt ended up being a you know, a prompt all of its own, I mean its own little journal. Thank you so much for being a part of my Junk Journal July journey. We'll see you next time.